this next clip here is for you entrepreneurs out there who, you know, the old saying, like, keep religion, politics, money at times away from the table. Well, Codie Sanchez and Tom Bilyeu cooked up a clip that is the perfect weapon in the arsenal to have the conversation for some of our more socialist, anti-capitalist friends.
I would guess that the majority of our audience is not those people.
For sure.
If you are, this one's for you.
We're just equipping you for the days ahead, because we're just equipping you for the days ahead as you stand on business, as the Gen Z like to say. Standing on business. All right, so Codie Sanchez here. The caption reads, "Everything wrong with the just tax the rich crowd." It was like a mouthful.
Tax the rich. Tax the billionaires. That's the solution. Let's take all their money. It's those guys' fault. And let me tell you why I think that's so dumb. Is because when you look at the math, if we took all of the Forbes 400 richest people in the world and we clawed back all their wealth, something like $4 trillion, that would run the US government for 7 months. That's not going to do enough. Then what if we took 100% of their earnings every year, about 1 million people's earnings, and we took all their earnings? How long would that run the government? Well, it'd be about like $500 billion, and that would be 34 days. Oh, that's really hopeful, Mr. Politician. When you talk about let's tax the rich, show me what that gets me. And what it gets me is 34 days of your salary. No thanks. We don't have a revenue problem in the US. We have a spending problem. And it turns out that politicians just need to know how to use a fucking calculator. And they don't. Tax the rich.
It's because they will pander to their constituents. And as we said, most consumer-minded people have their head in the sand. And it sounds really good to turn around and point the finger at somebody else as to why they are still broke, don't have enough money. It's always somebody else or someone else's problem, and the government is coming to save them. Well, newsflash, nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody's coming to save you. And dude, what I really love about this, so she's not the first to, you know, pull out those stats and rebuttal against that. But what I love to see in her example that she's continued to model is she is someone who's continuing to step into speaking about things on a higher level, on the macro level. And I really love it from the influence that she actually does hold in the culture. And but it's also a cue to, like, those of us in business, we have to speak up. We have to bring these things back to the table. Faith people, you have to bring faith back to the conversation at the table. For a long time, this notion, we don't realize just how devious this notion of, like, keep these things off the table. Let's just agree to disagree.
It somehow got wrapped up in the separation of church and state. It's like, well, the state doesn't own my business, right? Well, and so I should have the ability to speak on these things. And there should be such thing as objective truth. There should be such thing as morality. There should be such things as capitalism is better than socialism. And I'm allowed to speak on that. The whole system that the generation behind us is advocating for, this socialistic idea, is not built on capitalism. It's built on all these social programs. We've slowly moved towards a more socialistic society. Right. We looked at that spending bill right here. It was a $1.2 trillion that was only going to get us to October. She said it was printing $1 trillion a quarter, so $4 trillion a year to fund government programs. If we want to fix it, we need to go in with the chainsaw. We need to get all that stuff out of there. And so the cure is to go in and stop thinking like socialism, like socialists. That's the reality of it. But 100%. It sounds better to just point the finger at somebody else. And so my hope is people are waking up. Yeah. And to your point, I love what Codie said, which is, or what you said about Codie. She's using her platform to educate the masses and use her influence to actually turn the tide.
Yeah. And to give her a little bit more credit too, she's not only using her platform, but it's an actual byproduct of the steps she's taking in her actual life and business, right? And that's why it's like, entrepreneurs out there, turn up the microphone, because in the vacuum of silence, bad ideas get really loud, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to get rid of bad ideas is to inject the truth back into the conversation. Now, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rocky in a time where people don't want to hear it, but you will win out. You will win out. And John Stonestreet, a guy who has one of my favorite quotes, all ideas have consequences. Bad ideas have victims. It's one of it's like top 3 quote of all time. And that is a perfect example. Yeah, we're just going to tax the rich. Well, a generation of people that think that that's the answer are going to end up being victims.
Yeah.
So